Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I would like to discuss about another type of parametric test known as F-test, or it is otherwise known as the variance ratio test. In the last video I discussed about t-test, which is coming under parametric test. There is also another test coming under parametric test, F-test. So the F-test is named in honor of the great statistician R.F. Fisher. The main object behind this test is to find out whether the two independent estimates of population variance differ significantly, or whether the two samples may be regarded as drawn from normal population having the same variance. That is, one of the main object behind the F-test is to test whether the two samples may be drawn from the normal population having the same variances. That is, the two populations having the same variance or not. In order to check this test, we may use F-test. For carrying out the test of significance, the ratio F is used. So the formula will be F is equal to S1 square divided by S2 square. Then what do you mean by S1 square and what do you mean by S2 square? Where S1 square is equal to sigma x1 minus x bar 1 the whole square divided by n1 minus 1, and S2 square is equal to sigma x2 minus x bar 2 the whole square divided by n2 minus 1. That is, we need to find out the mean of first sample x bar 1 and the mean of second sample x bar 2, and from this mean deduct each individual x values and find out its total, and this total is divided by n1 minus 1 for getting S1 square, and this total is divided by n2 minus 2 for getting S2 square. And it should be noted that the value of S1 square is always greater than S2 square. That is, the value of S1 square is always greater than S2 square. So symbolically, F is equal to larger estimate of variance divided by smaller estimate of variance. That is, S1 square divided by S2 square is symbolically called it as larger estimate of variance divided by smaller estimate of variance. Here, in the case of F-test, we set up the null hypothesis, that is H0, that both the samples comes from the population having the same variance. So that I said earlier, one of the important objects behind the F-test is to know whether the two samples may be drawn from the normal population having the same variance. So that will be its H0, that is null hypothesis, that both samples comes from the population having the same variance. So here the degrees of freedom nu is equal to nu for degrees of freedom for S1 square is equal to n minus 1, and the degrees of freedom for S2 square is equal to n2 minus 2. And after calculating the value of F by using the above formula, this value is compared with the table value for a given degrees of freedom as well as the level of alpha or level of significance, and the table calculated value of F is greater than the table value, then we may take the decisions to reject the null hypothesis. And if the calculated value of F is less than that of the table value of F, we may take the decision to accept the null hypothesis. This will be the decision criteria of the F-test. Since this F-test is based on the ratio of two variances, it is otherwise called by the name variance ratio test. Why F-test is otherwise called by the name the variance ratio test? Its answer is very simple. Since the F is based on the ratio of two variances, its other name is called by the name is variance ratio test. The next very important is that the assumptions of F-test. What are the assumptions of F-test? There are three important assumptions: normality, homogeneity, and independence of error. Then what do you mean by normality, homogeneity, and the independence of error? Normality, that is the values in each group are normally distributed. That is, the samples are taken from the population which follows the characteristics of normal distribution. That is normality, the values in each group are normally distributed. Then second assumption is that homogeneity, that is the variance within each group should be equal for all the groups. That is, sigma 1 square is equal to sigma 2 square is equal to sigma 3 square, etc. up to sigma n square. This assumption is needed in order to combine or pool the variances within the groups into a single within groups source of variation. That is what do you mean by homogeneity? Homogeneity means the variance within each group should be equal for all the groups. Then what do you mean by variance? Variance will be the square value of the standard deviation. That is why it is symbolically written like sigma 1 square is equal to sigma 2 square is equal to sigma 3 square is equal to etc. 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 That is, the variance within each group should be equal for all groups. That is why this assumption follows homogeneity. Then third assumption is that independence of error. That means it states that the error, that is the variation of each value around its own group mean, should be independent for each value. That is, it states that the error should be independent for each value. That means the variations of each value around its mean value. The variations of each value around its mean value. That is, the difference between each value with that of its mean value should be independent for each value. That is independence of error. So these are the three important assumptions of F-test, and all these three assumptions are followed in the case of ANOVA test also. Then next I move to the applications of F-test. The first application is that the F-test is used by a researcher in order to carry out the test for the equality of the two population variances. That is, to test the equality of the two population variants that we are already discussed in the beginning itself. If a researcher wants to test whether or not two independent samples have been drawn from a normal population with the same variability, then he generally employs the F-test. If the researcher wants to know whether or not these two independent samples coming from the normal population having the same variances, for that purpose the researcher may use the F-test. Then second application is that the researcher also used to test the equality of two or more population means, just like that of t-test. In the case of t-test, we may use this test to know the equality of two or more to know the equality of two population mean in the case of t-test, whereas in the case of f-test it is also used to test the equality of, instead of two population means, but here equality of two or more population means. So this is the applications of F-test. The next, ANOVA, analysis of variance. It is a statistical technique developed by R.F. Fisher in 1920, specially designed to test whether the means of more than two quantitative populations are equal. So the main object behind the ANOVA is to test whether the means of more than two quantitative populations are equal. It is consists of classifying and cross-classifying statistical result and testing whether the means of a specified classification differ significantly. The term ANOVA originated in agrarian research, and its language is thus loaded with such agricultural terms like blocks, treatments, etc. The term block stands for land and the treatment stands for sample or population, which are differentiated in terms of varieties of seed, fertilizers, its cultivation method, etc. So the term ANOVA is first originated in agrarian research in order to solve the problem related with the agricultural terms like the impact of fertilizers on a particular plot of land, etc. And this ANOVA is first developed by R.A. Fisher in 1920s, and the main reason behind this ANOVA is to test whether the means of more than two quantitative populations are equal. Means of two or more quantitative populations are equal or not. So assumptions in ANOVA. Next, the assumptions in ANOVA is same as that of assumptions of F-test, like homogeneity, normality and independence of error that I already discussed. Then next, what are the techniques of ANOVA? That is, the two important techniques are one-way classification or one-way ANOVA, and second one, two-way classification or two-way ANOVA. Then what do you mean by one-way ANOVA? Here, one-way ANOVA, the data are classified according to only one criteria. As its name indicates, data are classified according to only one criteria. That is, here the null hypothesis H0 is equal to mu1 is equal to mu2 is equal to mu3, etc., up to mu k. That is, symbolically, the arithmetic mean of population from which k samples were randomly drawn are equal to one another. Once again, the main assumption, that is the null hypothesis taken under one-way ANOVA, is that the arithmetic mean of populations from which k samples were randomly drawn are equal to one another. Then what are the steps to be performed while carrying out one-way ANOVA or one-way classification? Then first step is that find out the variance between the sample or calculate the variance between the samples, that is SSC. Then how will you arrive at the value of SSC, that is the variance between the sample? For that, first we need to calculate the mean of each sample, that is x bar. Then x bar 1, if we have 3 samples, x bar 1, x bar 2 and x bar 3. First calculate the mean of each sample. Then second step is that calculate the grand average, that is it's pronounced as x double bar. Calculate the grand average, that is x double bar. Then how will you calculate x double bar? X double bar is equal to x bar 1 plus x bar 2 plus x bar 3 plus etc. divided by n1 plus n2 plus n3. Then next is that take the differences between the means of the various samples from the grand average. That is, take the difference between the first calculated value, that is mean, from the second calculated value, that is grand mean, x double bar. The next step is that square these deviations and obtain the total, which will give the sum of squares between the samples. That is, the square these deviations and obtain the total. That total is equal to variance between the sample, that is SSC. The next main step is that find the variances within the sample. First step is find variance between the sample. Second step, find variance within the sample. Then how will you arrive at the variance within the sample? Here also many steps. First one, calculate the mean value of each sample, that I said earlier, x bar 1, x bar 2, x bar 3, etc. Then second one, take the deviations of various items in the sample from the grand averages. Various items in the sample from the mean values of the respective samples. Then third one is that square these deviations and obtain the total, which gives the sum of squares within the sample. Squares these deviations and obtain the total. Then next is that divide the total obtained in step number 3 by the degrees of freedom. Divide this total by the degrees of freedom. Here the degrees of freedom is obtained by the deduction from the total number of item or the total number of samples, that is nu is equal to n minus k. N stands for the total number of items in the sample, minus k is equal to the number of samples. So for the calculation of SSE, that is variance within the sample, SSE, the degrees of freedom will be n minus k, that is the total number of items minus the total number of samples. And for the calculation of SSE in the first step, that is variance between the sample, the degrees of freedom will be k minus 1, that is the number of samples minus 1. And then next third main step is that find the F ratio. So F is equal to between column variances divided by within the column variances. It's symbolically abbreviated as F is equal to S1 square divided by S2 square. And then next, compare this calculated value of F with the table value for the given degrees of freedom and at the certain level of significance. And if the calculated value of F is less than that of table value, we may accept the null hypothesis. And if the calculated value of F is more than that of the table value, then the null hypothesis is rejected. This will be the decision criteria of the F test. Then how will you locate these values in a one-way ANOVA table? That is, in the case of one-way ANOVA table, we may plot the value, that is, first write down the value of SSE, that is between sample, then write the value of within the sample, that is SSE. Then SSC is equal to, that is sum of squares between the sample, SSC is equal to, SSE is calculated by taking into account the various steps which are already mentioned in the previous audio, that is SSC and SSE, and this SSC is divided by the degrees of freedom, that is nu1 C minus 1. Then we will get mean sum of squares between the sample, that is MSC, and the second one, variance within the sample, that is SSE, is divided by the degrees of freedom N minus C. Then we will get MSE. MSE stands for mean sum of squares within the sample. MSC stands for mean sum of squares between the sample. SSE stands for sum of squares within the sample. SSC stands for sum of squares between the sample or between the columns or between the rows. So finally the F ratio is equal to MSC divided by MSE. F ratio is equal to MSC divided by MSE. Then MSC stands for SSC divided by C minus 1. Where what do you mean by C minus 1? C minus 1 is equal to C minus 1 is equal to number of columns minus 1, that is C minus 1. Then MSE is equal to SSE divided by N minus C. Then what do you mean by N? N means the total number of items in each sample minus the number of samples. For example, if we have 4 samples, for the calculation of MSE, its degrees of freedom will be C minus 1, that is 4 minus 1, that is equal to 3. And if we have 4 samples and each sample consists of 5 elements, total together 5 into 4, 20 items. And for the calculation of MSE, the degrees of freedom will be N minus C. Then N stands for here 20, that is 4 samples, each sample consisting of 5 items. So 5 into 4, 20. Its degrees of freedom will be 20 minus number of samples. Here number of sample is 4, so 20 minus 4 is equal to 16 for the degrees of freedom of MSE. So I hope you all are clear. Once again, MSE is equal to SSC divided by nu1, that is degrees of freedom. Here degrees of freedom will be C minus 1, and MSE is equal to SSE divided by nu2, that is degrees of freedom V2 nu2 is equal to N minus C. And last finally F ratio MSC divided by MSE. In this way we are carrying out the one-way ANOVA table. The next last technique of ANOVA, two-way ANOVA. Here as its name indicates, data are classified according to 2 different criteria. In the case of one-way ANOVA, data are classified according to 1 criteria. Here the data are classified according to 2 criteria. Here also the steps to be carried out are: find out the first one, find out the value of MSC. So MSC is equal to SSC divided by C minus 1. Same formula, SSC divided by C minus 1. SSC stands for sum of squares between columns. In the case of two-way analysis, we may call it as SSC is equal to sum of squares between columns, whereas in the case of one-way ANOVA, SSC stands for sum of squares between the sample. SSE stands for sum of squares within the sample, whereas in the case of two-way, SSC is equal to sum of squares between columns, and SSE stands for sum of squares between rows. So find out the value MSC, that's equal to SSC divided by C minus 1. Then C minus 1 is equal to number of columns minus 1. And next step is that find out MSR. MSR stands for sum of squares between rows. Sum of squares between rows. How will you arrive at MSR? MSR is equal to SSR divided by degrees of freedom. Here the degrees of freedom will be R minus 1. Then R minus 1 is equal to number of rows minus 1. Then next, find out the third step, find the residual error, SSE. This residual error is not applicable in the case of one-way ANOVA. In the case of two-way ANOVA, find out the residual error. Then residual error or residual or error sum of square is equal to total sum of squares minus sum of squares between columns minus sum of squares between rows. How will you arrive at the residual error? Residual error or SSE. SSE is equal to SST minus SSC plus SSR. Then what do you mean by SST? SST stands for sum of squares. SST stands for total sum of square. It is the combined total of all the sum of squares between the columns and between the rows and the residual errors. So SST minus total sum of squares minus sum of squares between columns, that is SSE, minus sum of squares between rows, that is SSR. In this way, calculate the residual error. And for the calculation of residual error, the degrees of freedom will be C minus 1 into R minus 1. C minus 1 stands for column minus 1, column number minus 1. R minus 1 stands for row number minus number of rows minus 1. And at last find out the F ratio. Then F ratio is equal to MSE divided by MSC divided by MSE. That is, F ratio is equal to MSC divided by MSE, where the degrees of freedom will be C for the new one C minus 1 and for the new 2 R minus 1. In two-way classification, the residual is the measuring rod for testing significance. It represents the magnitude of variation due to forces called the chance. In two-way classification, the term residual is the measuring rod for testing the significance. It is one of the important tool for testing the significance. And how it what it represents? It represents the magnitude of variation due to some forces called the chance variation. So to conclude, that is, both the F test and T test are coming under parametric test. That is, both these tests are coming from the population which follows the normal distribution. That is, the samples are taken from the population having the normal distribution feature. And T test and F test are coming under parametric test. T test is already discussed in the previous classes, and F test is now discussed. Then what is the difference between these two parametric tests, that is T test and F test? What is the comparison between these two? The comparison between these two is that both tests are parametric tests, and as well as these tests are these samples are taken from the population having the normal distribution features. This is the comparison between the T test and F test. And what is the main difference between these two parametric tests like T test and F test? The t-test is a method that determines whether two populations are satisfactorily different from each other, where f-test or ANOVA determines whether two or more populations are statistically different from each other. Once again, the t-test is a method that determines whether two populations are satisfactorily different from each other. In order to test whether two populations are satisfactorily different, two populations only. Then, whereas in the case of f-test or ANOVA, here we want to test whether two or more population, not the two population, two or more populations are statistically different from each other. So this is the main difference between the t-test and ANOVA. So I hope you all are clear with my explanation about the f-test and the ANOVA. Hope you are enjoying my class. Do support for me. Thank you.